post-lunch crowd. Woo! It's exciting. Okay. What is the one thing that we are all going after right now? Listings. Okay, so we have some superstars here that we're gonna go through. And I'm gonna handpick some of you for. We're not gonna have all of you guys answer all of these, so we're gonna kind of drill down on some of them. But feel free to jump in. Feel free to jump in. Joan, you've got a great listing business over 30, 40 years. I think you said, right? No, 20. 20. Did I just add some years that I shouldn't have there? Good. It does, yeah, I know. Those memes, it's like a realtor 20 years in, really 40. What are the most effective strategies for you, especially right now, in winning listings in your market?
So it goes back to, again, with our listings, it's a lot of past client staying in touch, as I had mentioned, with the events and the newsletters. We're making a big push this year. We're moving into some other areas that we haven't been using so much. In the past, we've been doing some golden letters. Are people familiar with that term, golden letters? Okay, where you send out letters. I mean, we do that two-sided to try to get listings as well as try to find off-market properties for buyers who can't find what they're looking for on the market. And being active in the community that we're focusing on, doing events and sponsoring clubs and activities within the community.
Okay, I love that. So that's some good top of funnel stuff. This is off script, so I hope it's okay. But Simon and Laura, when you guys are competing or in the listing right now, what's winning?
Marketing.
Marketing. So you're using marketing to win.
I mean, for me, like I said, a lot of our listings comes from, well, yes, past clients, but also our farming efforts, our marketing efforts, and which are really branding efforts, so that when you walk in the door, if you do this long enough and consistently enough, you're kind of a bit of a celebrity. They feel like they know you before you walk in the door. So I don't spend a lot of time having to sell myself. In fact, I never talk about myself on a listing appointment, ever. It's all about them and what their needs are, and then I always go through all the marketing, and the marketing is what I spend all my time on. I don't spend a lot of time on pricing. I don't spend a lot of time on commissions. It rarely comes up. So a lot of these calls become come list me calls.
It's interesting. Remember that list we saw about the reason sellers choose agents? And number one was experience. Think about it this way. There is the experience and there is the perception of experience. Can we create the perception of experience with marketing? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Simon. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I'm there to listen to the seller. I let them do 90% of the talking. I do about 10% because it's really more about them, not about you. Just like Laura said, you don't need to sell yourself that way because the reason you're in there, they already know you. So now you need to make sure they trust you. So you want to make sure you find out everything they need to know, just they want to tell you. And then you provide information for marketing and also data. And data is key. If you have the right data, they know you did your homework. So that's important.
So specifically, diving into trust a little bit, y'all haven't been interviewed by me yet. We're off script. How do you establish, what do you think you specifically do the best, Simon, to establish trust? Is it the listening? Is it showing the data? What is it that you do that has them trust you?
So before I go into a listing appointment, if someone call me, if I don't know them, I actually do my research. I go online, I go to LinkedIn, I go to Facebook, and find out about their house, how long they've been there, do all my research. You're much more smarter to know certain information first than going and asking, oh, how long you been here? Like, you should know this stuff already. And then you also find out about the house. Like, when was the last time they purchased? Also having that conversation prior. Hey, by the way, before I come over to you, can you tell me, what did you do for the last 10 years? Did you do any renovation? Because then you get to find out, you get to pull up data to make sure that you match that information. And I actually do 2 different data comps. One is actually they did nothing to the house. Once they may say, hey, you know what, I did stuff to the house. They may say, oh, my house is wonderful. I'm like, okay, it may not be new, So I make sure I know which one to go to when I go to the listing appointment, when I go see the house.
So you know your stuff, you come prepped, you know the data, and you just know your stuff.
Yeah, and you also should know who sold it to them, and when in that initial pre-qualification call before, when you're setting that appointment, I always set the expectations of what is going to happen. So what is going to happen is, right now I'm asking you about your motivation when I'm first on the phone with you to, just set the appointment. How did you hear about us? I want to know if they're a referral or what, how to build that connection better. And I want to know what their motivation for selling. And I always ask them about the condition of their home, because their response to that question will tell you a lot, right? So there are people that think their house is, oh, it's absolutely perfect, it's ready to go, and then you get there and you're like, oh my God. But then you know what you're dealing with, and you know that they have unrealistic expectations and that sort of thing. But that's an important question, and I always ask them, how much do they think their house is worth? And I ask them that on the first call. A lot of people won't answer, and they'll say, well, that's why I'm calling you in. Okay, fine. But, probably 50% of them will tell me.
Okay, I want to just stay on you really quick because you have this cool farming business, right? I'm curious, if you go from person in your farm who you've never met through signed listing agreement, will you walk us through the steps? Someone cold, not I say cold, someone in your farm, but you may not know. What's on the marketing? What are the calls to actions? How are you following up? Who's following up? How many touches might it take? Like, I think we're all curious what cradle to grave looks like on that.
No, I mean, the farming is just sending out those marketing pieces on a consistent basis. Like I said, they do have calls to action in them, and if people take those calls to action, and then they're going to join our database, and then they're also going to get those touches. No one's calling them at all. Most of the time, they're calling us, which is why I like marketing instead of prospecting, but that's my personality. I'm, more introverted. So no one, by the time they're calling us, they're calling generally, it's either come list me, or I'm talking to a couple people and I want you to come in because I always get your postcards and blah, blah, blah. And then because we're very deliberate about where we send these postcards and which communities get them, that's where we're doing business, consistently. So they also have seen our signs over and over and over. By the time you walk in their door, there's not a lot of touches needed. You're having that initial call where you're trying to get their motivation and you're just sort of setting the appointment. We do a two-step listing process. So, then I'm explaining to them that I'm not giving them a price when I walk in their house. I'm going to just see their house and see the condition of their house and meet them. And then all I'm going to do is do what Simon said and basically get there, shut up, and let them talk about what all their, what their motivations and their concerns are. And then I'm going back and I'm going over marketing, and then later it's just a very quick conversation about price, and it's signed.
Okay. So in some of your marketing, it might be like home valuation, it might be get a property report, just kind of different calls to action to get them in your database, or?
Sort of. I do less of that and more about, just join our newsletter, see our new listings, see our upcoming listings.
Okay, got it.